you guys in 244. Let's do some quick sample size calculations based on some assumptions. Carly asked the question, is there a pretty standard margin of error calculation? Well, yeah, because most studies are done at 95% confidence, which would have a z-score of 1.96. Okay? And most accept the 3% margin of error right here. So if you wanted to calculate that out, you would do 0.25 times 1.96 squared. That's the critical value for 95% confidence, 1.96, divided by, and here's where students often make mistakes, that margin of error has to be a decimal. It has to be as a decimal. You can't put in 3. Because if you put in 3, that's 3%, but mathematically, that's 300. Because the percentage symbol has no meaning in the real world. I mean, other than the fact that we see it like, my jeans are 40% off. Like, you have to do math on it, you have to change it to a decimal. So it's going to have to be 0.03 squared. Which means you got to go get 1,067.111111111 people. Which means you better get 1,068. Because you can't get 0.1 per person in your sample. So, thank you, Frankie, for sharing that. Because there's a reason I gave you a gift that I gave you. If everyone would please check your program list. Go to your program list. I gave you a bunch of stuff back in 243. One of them was called SysCalc. Right there. SysCalc. SysCalc, sample size calc. I had to use 8 letters, so I had to pick and choose which ones I used. It does this calculation for you, so we don't have to worry about screwing up the computation. So, do sample size calc, run the program. The first thing it asks you for is how confident do you want to be? 95%. And then it asks for your margin of error as a decimal that you're willing to accept. 0.03. Boom. There you go. 1,068.
Where was that?
It's under your programs. Remember where the normal was? And dist fill, it's under the same place as the... I couldn't put it in the stat menu because I don't know how to do that.
Dist fill?
It's with dist fill as the... Cassidy, go ahead.
Did you give this gift again?
Of course! I have cables today. I give it to you after class. If anybody's lost the gifts I gave you, I'll give it back to you, of course. Now, the beauty of this is you can see how the sample size changes as your requirements change without going through the algebra, right? So run it again. Suppose you still want to be 95% confident, but now you can't accept any more than a 1% margin of error. So you got to shrink from 3% to 1%. You got to go get almost 10,000 people now to do that. So even though your margin of error shrunk by 1/3, you got to get more than 3 times the people. You got to get basically 9 times the people, if that makes sense. Hopefully that will make algebraic sense. If you understand algebra, you'll see how that works. I mentioned it in the video too. Mikey, what you got?
My programs are not your programs.
They are not? Well then let me give you mine after class, if that's okay.
Okay.
So, speaking of after class, I think we're done for the day. I think we've hit this pretty well. Plus it's 10 o'clock, so get the hell out of here. I love you all. Don't get the hell out of here. So if you want to practice for the quizzes next week, I got a couple quizzes up for you guys next week. At least one of them is on this stuff. Forming confidence intervals, drawing sample sizes, and things like this. If you need more practice, the extra resources page for the first percent of problems ready to go. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep adding quizzes about this. I think I put 2 quizzes up next week for this stuff, actually, now that I think about it. Anyway, you'll see it when you go there. You'll see it when you go there. Okay, doke? Have a good weekend. We'll see you on Tuesday. We'll see how Del Taco has to do with this.